Michael Jordan's story did not begin beneath championship lights or roaring crowds. It began in a modest home in Wilmington, North Carolina, where discipline mattered more than comfort and hard work shaped every day. Born on February 17, 1963, Jordan grew up surrounded by structure, responsibility, and constant expectations. His father, James Jordan Sr., worked long hours while teaching his son the value of belief and resilience. His mother, Dolores Jordan, demanded excellence and dignity in everything her children pursued. Yet the greatest pressure inside the house often came from competition with his older brother Larry. Michael admired him deeply but constantly felt one step behind. Every backyard game became a painful reminder that talent alone was never enough. That frustration slowly transformed into obsession. At 15 years old, Jordan experienced the rejection that would permanently alter his mindset when he failed to make the varsity basketball team. Humiliated and heartbroken, he locked himself inside his room and cried alone. But that night also awakened something fierce inside him. He began training relentlessly before sunrise and after dark, determined to never again feel invisible. Rejection stopped being an obstacle and became the fuel that powered his entire life. Chapel Hill became the furnace that forged his confidence. When Michael Jordan arrived at the University of North Carolina in 1981, he entered an environment overflowing with elite talent and crushing expectations. For the first time in years, he was no longer the center of attention. Coach Dean Smith demanded patience, discipline, and teamwork rather than individual brilliance. Jordan struggled emotionally during those early months because every instinct inside him wanted to dominate immediately. Instead, he was forced to learn restraint. Some nights he returned to his dorm feeling forgotten and uncertain, haunted by the same insecurity born from his high school rejection. During difficult stretches, he regularly called his father for reassurance. James Jordan never offered dramatic speeches. He simply reminded his son to trust his work and continue moving forward. Everything changed during the 1982 NCAA championship game against Georgetown. With seconds remaining, Jordan received the ball and calmly hit the game-winning shot that delivered a national title to North Carolina. In that instant, the uncertain freshman finally understood he belonged on basketball's biggest stages. The shot transformed his confidence forever. Over the next 2 seasons, he sharpened every part of his game and evolved into one of the most electrifying young players in America before declaring for the NBA draft in 1984. Chicago witnessed the birth of a basketball revolution. When the Chicago Bulls selected Michael Jordan 3rd overall in the 1984 NBA draft, few people understood how dramatically he would change basketball and global culture. Jordan entered the league with breathtaking athleticism, fearless confidence, and a competitive fire unlike anything the NBA had experienced before. Almost immediately, arenas filled with fans eager to witness his gravity-defying dunks and impossible finishes at the rim. Yet despite his individual brilliance, playoff disappointment repeatedly blocked his path to greatness. The Detroit Pistons punished him physically and emotionally during multiple postseason battles, forcing him to confront the harsh reality that talent alone could not carry a franchise to championships. Jordan responded by transforming his body, strengthening his mentality, and embracing leadership with ruthless intensity. Every loss fueled his obsession with improvement. By the beginning of the 1990s, he had evolved from an exciting superstar into a complete force capable of dominating every aspect of the game. In 1991, Jordan finally conquered the Pistons and led Chicago to its first NBA championship against Magic Johnson's Los Angeles Lakers. The victory changed basketball history forever. Michael Jordan was no longer simply a gifted athlete. He became the face of the NBA and the symbol of competitive perfection across the world. Air Jordan turned an athlete into a global cultural icon. As Michael Jordan dominated basketball courts during the early 1990s, another empire exploded beyond sports and transformed him into a worldwide cultural phenomenon. In partnership with Nike, the Air Jordan brand reshaped fashion, marketing, and celebrity influence in ways never seen before. What began as a risky endorsement in 1985 evolved into a billion-dollar movement that reached every corner of popular culture. Fans lined up for hours outside stores whenever a new shoe released. Children copied his style, his mannerisms, and even the way he moved through the air. Jordan became more than an athlete. He represented ambition, excellence, and possibility. Yet behind the soaring fame existed relentless pressure. His schedule became consumed by endorsements, interviews, appearances, and expectations from every direction. Privacy disappeared almost entirely. Despite the exhausting demands, Jordan continued producing extraordinary performances on the court. Between 1991 and 1993, he led the Bulls to 3 consecutive championships while collecting scoring titles and Finals MVP awards with astonishing consistency. Through it all, one presence mattered most to him. His father sat proudly in arenas recording moments with a camcorder, watching his son become one of the most recognized figures on earth. Those memories would later become priceless after tragedy changed Jordan's life forever. The death of his father shattered the man behind the legend. At the height of his dominance in 1993, Michael Jordan appeared untouchable to the world. He possessed championships, wealth, global admiration, and unmatched influence. But everything collapsed on July 23, 1993, when his father, James Jordan Sr., was murdered while resting in his car during a roadside stop. The devastating news struck Michael with unimaginable force. His father had been far more than a supportive parent. He had been Jordan's emotional anchor, closest confidant, and the steady voice guiding him through every major stage of life. The grief overwhelmed him completely. Suddenly, basketball no longer carried meaning. Championships felt hollow. Fame became unbearable. During the funeral, witnesses watched Jordan tremble with pain while standing beside his father's casket. The strongest competitor in sports looked emotionally broken. In the months that followed, he withdrew from the spotlight and questioned everything surrounding his career. Then, in October 1993, Michael Jordan stunned the world by announcing his retirement from basketball at only 30 years old. Fans struggled to comprehend the decision because physically he remained at his peak, but emotionally he no longer had the strength to continue. The game that once gave him purpose now reminded him constantly of the father who would never again watch him play. Baseball became a journey through grief and memory. After retiring from basketball, Michael Jordan pursued a path that confused critics and shocked fans across the globe. He chose professional baseball, joining the Birmingham Barons organization in 1994, despite years away from the sport. To outsiders, the decision looked reckless and unnecessary, but for Jordan, baseball represented something deeply personal. His father had always dreamed of seeing him play professionally, and Michael embraced the challenge as a way to remain connected to the man he lost. The transition proved brutally difficult. Jordan faced long bus rides, exhausting practices, relentless media criticism, and the humiliation of struggling publicly in an unfamiliar sport. Every strikeout intensified scrutiny, yet he endured the frustration because success was never the true purpose of the journey. Baseball became therapy. It gave him structure during grief and allowed him to escape the crushing expectations attached to basketball. Slowly, he began rebuilding emotionally through discipline and routine. During lonely nights in hotel rooms, he often reflected on conversations with his father and replayed memories that still haunted him. The process did not erase his pain, but it taught him resilience beyond competition. For the first time in years, Jordan learned how to exist without needing to dominate everyone around him. "I'm back" became one of the most powerful returns in sports. On March 18, 1995, Michael Jordan released 2 simple words that instantly shook the sports world: "I'm back." There was no dramatic explanation or emotional speech, yet those words announced the return of the greatest basketball player alive after 17 months away from the NBA. Jordan rejoined the Chicago Bulls carrying visible emotional scars from grief and uncertainty. He looked leaner, quieter, and more guarded than before. Early performances revealed rust and frustration as he struggled to regain rhythm after his absence. But beneath those struggles remained the relentless determination that defined his career. Jordan spent endless hours practicing after teammates left the gym, rebuilding his instincts through exhaustion and isolation. The hunger gradually returned. By the 1995 to 1996 season, he had fully rediscovered his dominance and led the Bulls to a historic 72-10 regular season record, the greatest in NBA history at that time. Chicago reclaimed the championship, while Jordan captured another MVP award and Finals MVP trophy. His comeback became more than a basketball achievement. It symbolized resilience after devastating loss. Jordan proved that greatness does not mean avoiding pain. It means finding the strength to continue moving forward while carrying heartbreak that never completely disappears. The flu game revealed the true meaning of competitive will. Among countless unforgettable moments in Michael Jordan's career, none captured his determination more vividly than the legendary flu game during the 1997 NBA Finals. Before Game 5 against the Utah Jazz, Jordan was severely ill with a high fever, dehydration, and extreme exhaustion. Many people believed he should not play at all. Even walking appeared difficult. Yet Jordan refused to surrender. He stepped onto the court looking physically broken but mentally unshaken. Throughout the game, he battled dizziness, weakness, and visible pain while still delivering one extraordinary play after another. Every possession became a test of pure willpower. Despite barely having enough strength to stand upright, Jordan scored 38 points and carried Chicago to a crucial victory. As the final buzzer sounded, he collapsed into Scottie Pippen's arms, exhausted beyond words. The image instantly became one of the defining moments in sports history. It represented something larger than basketball statistics or championships. The performance showed the world that true greatness is measured by perseverance during suffering. Jordan's body begged him to stop, but his competitive spirit refused to yield. The flu game transformed him from an iconic athlete into a symbol of human endurance and relentless mental strength. The final shot completed the dynasty and secured immortality. By 1998, the Chicago Bulls dynasty stood on unstable ground. Players were aging, internal tensions were growing, and the future of the organization looked uncertain. Michael Jordan understood that the end was approaching, yet he remained determined to finish his career on his own terms. Throughout the season, he carried enormous pressure while continuing to perform at an elite level despite being 35 years old. The Bulls reached the NBA Finals once again against the Utah Jazz, setting the stage for one final masterpiece. In Game 6, with seconds remaining and Chicago trailing by 1 point, Jordan created the defining moment of his career. He stole the ball from Karl Malone, calmly dribbled down the court, crossed over Brian Russell, and delivered the iconic jump shot that secured his 6th championship. As the ball swished through the net, time seemed to stop. The image of Jordan holding his follow-through became permanently etched into sports history. It was not merely a game-winning basket. It symbolized completion. Jordan walked away from the Bulls after that championship having achieved 6 titles in 6 finals appearances. He left basketball not through decline, but at the very summit of greatness. Fame could not protect his personal life from quiet collapse. While Michael Jordan conquered basketball courts and built an empire of influence, his personal life slowly experienced strains that success could not repair. During the late 1980s, he married Juanita Vanoy and embraced the dream of building a stable family away from the pressures of fame. Together they raised 3 children and shared moments of genuine happiness behind closed doors. For a period, Jordan experienced something rare for global superstars, normal family life. But the demands of his career gradually consumed more time, energy, and emotional attention. Endless travel, media obligations, business ventures, and the constant pressure to remain extraordinary created growing distance inside the marriage. Jordan's fame reached levels few human beings could truly understand, making privacy nearly impossible. Small absences eventually became emotional gaps that widened over time. The public often viewed him as invincible, but his home life carried vulnerabilities no championship could solve. By the early 2000s, the relationship had deteriorated under years of strain and sacrifice. The eventual divorce became one of the most publicized separations in sports history. For Jordan, it represented another painful reminder that greatness often demands enormous personal costs. Even legends can struggle to protect the people closest to them from the consequences of ambition. Michael Jordan became more than a player. After the final applause. When Michael Jordan finally stepped away from professional basketball for good, his influence did not fade with retirement. Instead, it evolved into something even larger than sports itself. Generations who never watched him play still recognize his silhouette, wear his shoes, and study his mindset as the ultimate example of competitive excellence. Jordan became the standard against which athletes across every sport are measured. His championships, scoring records, and unforgettable performances remain legendary. but his deeper impact extends beyond statistics. He transformed basketball into a global phenomenon and changed how athletes understood branding, business, and cultural power. Yet beneath the mythology remains the human story of a man shaped by rejection, discipline, grief, and relentless determination. Michael Jordan's life reveals that greatness is rarely born from comfort. It often emerges from pain, insecurity, and the refusal to surrender after devastating loss. He carried pressure few people could survive, while continuing to rise whenever the world expected collapse. Long after the roaring arenas grew silent, Jordan's legacy endured because he represented something timeless, the belief that human beings can push beyond limits that once seemed impossible. The legend of Michael Jordan continues not because he never fell, but because he always found a way to rise again.